homage to Buddha Shakyamuni, homage to Manjushri, homage to all the lineage masters. The supreme, profound and subtle Dharma is rarely encountered in eons. Now we hear and follow it. May we realize the Tathagata's meaning. To liberate beings, please generate bodhicitta before teaching. Let's continue with our study of the Bodhicharyavatara, Ocean of Good Explanations. Right now we're on the offering branch of the second chapter. Within the offering branch, yesterday we already covered the earlier parts. We finished discussing the fourth of the 12 types of offerings manifested by the power of the mind, which is offering fine robes. Today we'll talk about the fifth offering, which is called the offering of exquisite scents. The verse puts it like this: like polishing the purest refined gold, I apply the finest scents whose fragrances waft everywhere throughout the billion worlds to the radiant bodies of all Sugatas. This means that when we're doing offerings manifested by the power of the mind, we should imagine the entire 3,000 great thousand world system completely filled with exquisite scents and fragrances, just as described in the Abhidharmakosha. All of these fragrances are offered to the Buddhas of the 10 directions, whose bodies are like pure gold, just like the body of Buddha Shakyamuni, which is described as having the color of pure gold. There are countless Buddhas, and here it's just illustrating one type. But in reality, in our world, we offer these exquisite scents to the countless Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Of course, as you all know, what we're mainly talking about here is offerings manifested by the power of the mind. There's a difference between offerings manifested by the power of the mind and mentally referencing offering. For example, with mentally referencing offering, you focus your mind on a particular object and then offer it in your mind. Let's say I see a really nice object or some beautiful flowers and so on, and I want to offer all of them to someone. First, I focus my mind on them, and then I make the offering in my mind. But with offerings manifested by the power of the mind, you can imagine all the limitless, boundless offerings throughout the whole world. There's no actual item on which you focus your mind. You just visualize and manifest everything with only your mind. And making offerings in this way also brings great merit. As we all understand, Mahayana Buddhism talks about the truth that all phenomena are created by the mind. If everything is mind-made, then even things that seem to exist externally are actually just manifestations of the mind. If we can truly create a most excellent offering in our mind, that is also a genuine offering. If as practitioners, we have this ability to create offerings in our mind, then for the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, there's really no difference between your mental offering and external ones. So for those of us who practice well, no matter where we are, this is a very skillful means for practice. Whether we encounter obstacles or favorable conditions, it's still a convenient method for practice. Whether you're living in a city or in a quiet forest, it makes no difference. You can always engage in practices like making offerings, confession, or any other practice with the power of your mind. That's what we're talking about here as well. The commentary explains it like this. 5. Exquisite sense. The Abhidharmakosha says, the 4 continents, the sun and moon, Mount Meru, and the heavens of the desire realm, and 1,000 Brahma worlds. These together are called a small chiliocosm. We've studied this before, so you should all be familiar with it. In Buddhism, especially according to the Abhidharmakosha's view, this is the Buddhist cosmology, a small chiliocosm. It includes Mount Meru, the sun and moon, the dhyana heavens, the desire realm heavens, and so on. All of these together count as one. A set of 1,000 of these is called a small chiliocosm. 1,000 of these small chiliocosms make up a medium chiliocosm. So you take one small chiliocosm as a unit and count it this way. 1,000 small chiliocosms make a medium chiliocosm. 1,000 of these is the 3,000 world system. So a medium chiliocosm, 1,000 medium chiliocosms make a great chiliocosm. The 3,000 great thousand world system is actually the realm that Buddha Shakyamuni guides. It's also called the Saha world, which is what we usually call it. Of course, this kind of concept might be a bit unfamiliar for some beginners who are just starting to learn Buddhism, or for those who haven't really studied Buddhist teachings in depth. Such people might not be able to visualize this very clearly, but in short, this is the Buddhist view of the universe. So when we visualize, we imagine the entire boundless universe filled with fragrance. This wonderful scent pervades the whole world. I think this is something we can all imagine. First, picture the scent filling your own room. Sometimes when you spray perfume in your room, the fragrance fills the whole space. You've all experienced this, right? Then expand this visualization. Imagine it filling a whole valley, then a whole basin. Eventually, the entire world is filled with this scent. And this fragrance is all offered to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions that you have faith in. This brings tremendous merit. In all these 3,000 world systems and countless pure lands, fragrant clouds are always drifting and swirling everywhere, their scent pervading every direction. With such supreme, exquisite scents, anoint the Buddha's bodies that shine brilliantly like pure gold. The Buddha's body is like pure gold. Here in our continent, Jambudvipa, pure gold is obtained through 16 rounds of refinement, finally achieving the most pure and pristine state. So, in front of a shining golden Buddha statue like this, whether it's a statue of Buddha Shakyamuni or any of the Buddhas of the 3 times, they are all very majestic. In front of such statues, we should visualize in the way as we mentioned above. In daily life, for example, right now in the world, there are so many beautiful flowers like jasmine, roses, and so on. There are also many kinds of perfumes. We often find these scents especially delightful and fragrant, giving us a sense of freshness and pleasure. So it's a wonderful idea to regularly offer them in the shrine room or in front of a Buddha statue. Of course, this is one way of making offerings by referencing a certain object. But even if you don't have anything physical, you can still visualize offering items in your mind. Today, I imagine all the fragrances in the entire 3,000 Great Thousand World System. Some of these scents are natural, like the fragrance that comes from fresh flowers. That's what we call natural fragrance. Nowadays, there are also all kinds of blended artificial fragrances or perfumes that are manufactured. All of these can be visualized and offered through our minds. These days, people in the world often apply different fragrances on their bodies. That's a kind of tradition, and of course, there's nothing wrong with it. But overall, when it comes to our own bodies, which are made up of the 36 impure substances, no matter how much we spray perfumes on it, it doesn't really bring much merit. But making offerings in front of Buddha statues, thangkas, or other offering objects is an act that brings tremendous merit. If you can visualize, then do so. If you really can't visualize, you can offer real sense instead. For example, every morning when I get up, unless there's something special going on, I'll take some perfume and spray a little in front of the Buddha statues. This is also a way of making an offering to the Buddha. It makes me feel good inside. Maybe you've felt this way too. So overall, making offerings of perfume should be directed toward a worthy object. If our object of offering is the Buddha and we offer with a pure mind, the merit is beyond question. Even if we offer with other intentions, there's still great merit. For example, among Buddha Shakyamuni's disciples, there was one named Aniruddha. Aniruddha was foremost in divine vision. How did that come about? Long ago, when people lived for 40,000 years. During the time of Buddha Krakuchanda's teachings, there was a group of thieves who prepared to take an action one night. The thieves had a leader whose shoes were worn out. Maybe conditions were tough back then. Nowadays, leaders probably dress well, but his shoes were worn out, so they planned to repair them. But as they worked into the night, it got too dark to see. So they searched around and finally found a Buddha shrine, that is, a temple. Inside, there was an offering lamp in front of the Buddha statue. The statue was very majestic, golden and radiant, but the butter lamp in front of the Buddha was about to go out because of the wick. So their leader quickly added a wick to the lamp so the lamp would continue to be lit and they could finish repairing the shoes. He finished fixing the shoes. Once the shoes were fixed, the lamp was burning brightly. At that moment, he saw the Buddha's smiling face and the statue's features. When he saw this, he developed faith in the Buddha's form. After that, maybe the lamp had originally been placed somewhere else, but out of respect, he moved it in front of the Buddha statue. Then in front of the Buddha, he made an aspiration. Actually, he wasn't really making an offering himself. He just moved the lamp over. He only added a wick so he could fix his shoes. But after that, he made a vow in front of the Buddha. He said, by the merit of this act, by the merit of moving this lamp here, may I gain wisdom in all my future lives. And in the future, under the teachings of a Buddha, may I become foremost in divine vision. Later, under Buddha Shakyamuni's teachings, that's exactly what happened. So sometimes, whether it's a lamp or incense, whenever we're in front of a Buddha statue or other sacred objects, even if we're not particularly mindful or pure in our motivation, even if we're not intentionally doing something virtuous with a pure mind, there's still immeasurable merit. So whenever we have the opportunity, we should make offerings like this. If you really don't have the means, just visualize in your mind all the fragrances and exquisite scents in the world. I offer them all to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions. Whether you're walking, riding in a car, or doing your own things, you can silently think this way in your mind. I don't think this is difficult at all. It only takes a few seconds, but the merit is tremendous. This is called the offering of exquisite scents. Next, we'll talk about I offer the great beings I venerate, the lords of sages, every fragrant flower, mandarava, lotus, jasmine, and so forth, and pleasing garlands strung attractively. Here it says, I offer the great beings I venerate, which can refer to our Vajra gurus or sacred objects like Buddha statues, stupas, and precious scriptures. In front of such supreme representations of the three jewels, we should offer flowers like lotuses, especially those with exquisite fragrance. We also offer mandarava flowers, blue lotuses, and beautiful garlands. There are several types of offerings here. As for lotus, it can be divided into white lotuses, red lotuses, yellow lotuses, and so on. Generally speaking, what we call a lotus in this world is a flower that opens with sunlight. Such flowers are called lotuses. Especially in Tibetan Buddhist poetry, blue lotuses, white lotuses, and mandarava flowers are often mentioned. And these flowers are frequently used in poetry. The mandarava flower mentioned here actually appears as a result of the merit of the devas in the heaven of the 33. It's a very special flower called the mandarava flower. As for the blue lotus, it generally opens with the moonlight. It's a flower that opens with the moonlight. And then there are garlands which are made by stringing various flowers together. When flowers are strung together, it's called a garland. Garlands are usually worn around the neck like a mala. In ancient India, when kings were welcomed, the first thing was to hang a garland around their neck. This was a long-standing tradition in India. It's still like this today. In some Western or Southeast Asian countries, whether it's the prime minister or a great spiritual teacher, when they are welcomed to visit, for example, when they are received at the airport, a child will put a garland around the neck of the important guests. Some leaders, if they're not familiar with this culture, may keep touching the garland. You may have seen this before, right? That's how it is. Now the text says 6 beautiful flowers. In front of all Buddha statues and so on that are all worthy of being supreme fields of merit, offer flowers that are pleasing, with fragrances that penetrate the heart, such as mandara flowers, lotuses, blue lotuses, and all celestial flowers. Generally, we also have lotuses and blue lotuses in our world. Mandara flowers, on the other hand, are usually celestial flowers, and colorful, pleasing flower garlands and jeweled garlands that are carefully strung together with all these beautiful flowers and jewels. All of these should be offered to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. As we've mentioned before, whether it's a garland or even just a single flower, offering them to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas brings tremendous merit. The Lotus Sutra also says this. If someone, even with a distracted mind, offers a single flower to a painted image, they will gradually see countless Buddhas. This means that even if we offer a flower with a distracted mind, even just one flower in front of a Buddha image, that person accumulates boundless merit through this act and will gradually be able to perceive the forms of all Tathagatas. I think for some of us, we offer flowers not with a distracted mind, but with a pure mind through faith. A distracted mind means you're not really paying attention, or you're offering in a state of afflicative emotions. Even so, offering flowers still brings great merit. That's what the Lotus Sutra says, as we just discussed. The same is said in the White Lotus Sutra. The Lotus Sutra and the White Lotus Sutra are different texts, but the White Lotus Sutra also says that if you visualize offering flowers to the Buddha or scattering a handful of flowers into the sky, the merit derived from this simple thought cannot be measured or described, even by the wisdom of a Buddha. So we should make offerings in this way wherever we go in the future. Especially in summer, we often see all kinds of colorful flowers along the way. If you haven't taken the vows of full ordination, you can pick a few flowers and scatter them into the sky as a way to make offerings. This also brings immeasurable merit. If your precepts don't allow you to pick flowers, then just visualize in your mind. That's fine too. Many senior Tibetan Buddhists, whenever they see beautiful scenery, for example, mountainsides covered in flowers, these old practitioners would start reciting mantras, meaning offering to the three jewels over and over. His Holiness also used to emphasize this point when he was teaching the Bodhicharyavatara. He said that especially in summer, there are so many wildflowers in Tibetan regions, so many beautiful flowers. If we don't offer them, it's a real pity. He asked us disciples to be sure to recite the flower offering liturgy whenever we're on the grasslands. I think not only in Tibetan regions, but also in Han Chinese regions, in every big public garden or even private gardens nowadays, almost every household has some flowers at home. Many people keep flowers not for offering to the Buddha, but just for themselves. But no matter what, when you see such flowers, you should offer them to the Buddha in your mind. If you do so, through this simple thought, you'll gain a lot of merit beyond measure. While offering them to the Buddha, it is also very important to make virtuous aspirations. In the White Lotus, the extensive biography of Buddha Shakyamuni, there is a story about this. The story goes like this. When Prince Vessantara, a previous life of Buddha Shakyamuni, and his wife Princess Madri were living at Mount Vamka, a Brahmin named Jujaka asked Vessantara for his two children. This happened when his wife Madri was away. When Madri returned and didn't see her children, she was heartbroken. She was devastated at losing her two children. At that time, Prince Vessantara told her, "Didn't we already make aspirations together before Buddha Dipankara? Back then you were a Brahmin girl and I was a Brahmin boy. When you were selling 7 flowers, I only had 5 coins, so I bought 5 flowers. And you gave me the other 2, and we offered them to Buddha Dipankara. We made aspirations together in front of the Buddha. You wished to be my wife in every life, but I said, you'd better not because I love giving. In the future, if I give everything away, you might regret it. You said, I'll never regret it. I'll never create any obstacles to your acts of generosity." After the prince explained this, the princess remembered everything clearly. From then on, she made the same aspiration again, and she never created any obstacles to Vessantara's acts of generosity. I remember the Sangha members of our academy performed this story several times. I don't recall it was the first or second time, but the Brahmin boy and girl were played by 2 of our acquaintances, right? Was it the first or second time? Back then they were so young, but now they're already senior practitioners. Now they probably can't play the Brahmin children anymore. That was a performance of the extensive biography of Buddha Shakyamuni nearly 10 years ago. But I think that scene was really wonderful. Many of us, including His Holiness, were moved to tears by that act of generosity. Many people started to cry seeing that. On one hand, we were deeply inspired by the Buddha's spirit of generosity in his past lives. It really inspired our faith in him. On the other hand, we were touched by the Buddha's ascetic practices at his causal stage. The story showed the Buddha practiced austerities and how he set such an example for all sentient beings. Everyone was deeply moved. And sometimes I think these days, people in the world are always caught up in stories and dramas, fueled by desire, anger, and ignorance. These things seem to be what everyone talks about day in and day out. But as Buddhists, we should spend more time reflecting on and discussing the life stories and inspiring deeds of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and make it a habit to contemplate and talk about these things. That's how we can make our human life truly meaningful. Anyway, in summary, whenever we encounter flowers or gardens in daily life, don't forget to make offerings. First, immediately think of offering them to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions. This is very important. His Holiness mentioned a type of flower in Tibetan regions. Yesterday we had those yellow flowers on my desk, but not today. It's a type of yellow flowers which are the most supreme items for offering to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. There is also one type of yellow flower called the Bodhicharyavatara flower. Wherever Patrul Rinpoche taught the Bodhicharyavatara, that flower would start to bloom in places nearby. Now in our academy there are many Bodhicharyavatara flowers. I just forgot, otherwise I could show you. If needed, I'll show you all sometime. These yellow flowers have 6 petals, some have 8 petals, and some have 12 petals. Wherever Patrul Rinpoche went, the flowers would bloom. I heard that when he taught in Qinghai, these yellow flowers bloomed everywhere. No matter what kind of flower it is, whenever we see fresh flowers, at that moment, we should visualize offering them to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions. Please don't forget this, everyone. The next verse says, I also offer billowing clouds of incense filled with the sweetest, most enchanting scents, and royal feasts I offer them as well, replete with an assortment of food and drink. Here, in front of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, we should also make offerings. What do we offer? The most supreme clouds of incense. These fragrances fill the air and eventually form clouds of incense. We also offer divine delicacies and all kinds of food and drink. The commentary explains it like this. 7. Clouds of incense. The most exquisite and pleasing scents fill every direction, forming clouds of incense. These clouds of incense, for example, when we burn a lot of incense in the incense burner, it often forms clouds of incense. And recorded in the biographies and teachings of great masters, these clouds may finally take different forms. Sometimes they take the shape of the 8 auspicious symbols, sometimes the 7 precious emblems of royalty, or the 5 offering items, and so on. All these shapes fill the entire sky and are offered to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions. This is what we call incense offering, or offering clouds of incense. Swirling and spreading throughout the sky, all of these are offered to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. It's easy for us to make incense offerings, whether in a monastery or at our own home shrine. This is a very simple act to do, very convenient. Nowadays there are many kinds of incense, for example, powdered incense. There's also anointing perfume and incense sticks for burning. Especially now, it seems many monasteries are making their own incense according to different formulas and traditions. Some people even say there are incense made by our academy's factory, but actually our academy has never run an incense factory. Our focus is on study, contemplation, and meditation of the Dharma, not on making incense. Of course, some people might use the academy's name for making profit for their own. Nowadays, whether it's some monks or others, they often use the name of our academy or the teachers here to do all sorts of inappropriate things outside. Well, this happens a lot, but none of them really has to do with our academy. Anyway, we should think like this. No matter what kind of incense it is, whether it's blended incense or incense made of sandalwood, agar wood, or clove, all these types of incense should be offered to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. When we go to a monastery, we can offer some incense there. If you're at home, you can offer a stick of incense every day or offer some incense powder. There's no difference. When His Holiness went to India, he praised white sandalwood incense a lot. As you know, white sandalwood incense has a particularly wonderful and distinct fragrance. We feel it's really good and use it as an offering. When we offer incense to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, we should also make aspirations. May I, in all my lives, become a practitioner with pure discipline and also bring the fragrance of purity to all sentient beings. We should make such aspirations as we offer incense. The 8th offering is called the offering of divine delicacies. Again, I respectfully offer white sugar, walnut juice, and many other varieties of delicious divine delicacies. The so-called divine delicacies, as Patrul Rinpoche explained, refer to the torma or ritual cake made of the 3 whites and 3 sweets. You all know this, you've probably seen it. For example, in the Gelug tradition, on the 15th day of the first month, there's a special torma offering ceremony. During the torma ceremony, there are also beautiful and fine butter sculptures made as offering items. Various offerings are made from butter sculptures. These offerings are also made to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Here, divine delicacies refers to the kinds of food that are offered to Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, as well as Dakinis and Dharma protectors. But when we prepare them, they're made in special symbolic shapes, not just any random form. At our academy, we often make torma offerings like this as well. I'm sure you're all familiar with this practice. Elsewhere, you can also find such offering practice, the items made just symbolic. If it's difficult to make torma, or you don't know how to make one properly, you can offer all kinds of drinks, candies, or cookies as substitutes. These can also represent toma. When we make offerings to the Dharma protectors, we should offer divine delicacies or toma. But if we can't make one, due to various circumstances, then in that case, we can offer whatever food and drinks we have that we think is good, like walnut juice or Red Bull or any kind of drink. Any kind of drink that you like can be offered. Or you can also offer some foods as well. And the foods you like can also be considered divine delicacies. It might not be good if you have nothing to offer in front of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Of course, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas don't actually need your cookies, nor are they thirsty for your drink. That's not the case. Buddhas and Bodhisattvas have long since eliminated hunger and discomfort in their minds. They don't experience such feelings like we do, but if we don't even have something symbolic, then making aspirations in front of them isn't always successful. It's the same in worldly matters. If you want to do something or ask someone for help at the very least, you'll offer a kata and say a few kind words. That's just how it is in the world. This is a tradition for how things works in this world. So, in front of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, whenever you make aspirations, what people call making a wish, you should always prepare some offerings first. Then, in front of a Buddha statue, or when you go to a monastery, if you want your business to go well, or you have some other goals that you wish the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas will help you fulfill, first you should make a symbolic offering. For example, light some incense or offer a flower in front of them. After making the offering, silently make your aspiration. I believe there are actually quite a lot of people who make aspirations when they visit Buddhist monasteries. We often encounter people making aspirations as well. But in the process of making aspirations, it's hard not to have any selfish motivation. I think for ordinary people, that's a bit difficult. But at the very least, don't forget these two words, which are all beings. This means whatever wish or aspiration you make, don't forget to do it for the sake of all beings, including yourself. For example, if I want to become a wise person, then with this intention, I offer incense or lamps in front of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And while making aspirations, I should think, for the benefit of all beings, may I become such and such. So all beings, these two words, are extremely important for anyone who has generated the unsurpassed bodhicitta, the offering of divine delicacy. And next, we'll talk about the offering of lamps and the offering of the ground. Further, I make an offering of jeweled lamps arranged in rows on golden lotuses. I scatter the petals of attractive flowers on a paved floor anointed with perfume. This is the lamp offering, which is made on golden lotuses. Nowadays we have lamp holders in various shapes, such as golden lotuses, the shape of Dharma wheel, and other lotus-shaped holders. Some lamp holders are just like golden lotuses. And then rows of precious lamps are arranged very neatly on them. This is the lamp offering. I scatter the petals of attractive flowers on a paved floor anointed with perfume. As this line says, the entire ground, whether it's a courtyard or a palace, is anointed with fragrance and covered with petals of fresh flowers. 9. Jeweled lamps. In rows of well-arranged golden lotuses, all kinds of shining jeweled lamps are placed. These too are offered to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Here you should all be aware. Whenever you have the conditions, you can make butter lamps yourself and offer them personally. If your circumstances don't allow you to make them on your own, then just visualize in your mind. Imagine countless lamps in the world, each with a wick and butter oil, and after lighting them, offer them to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions. That's also fine. Or if you only have a small butter lamp, you can still visualize it to be very big. In the past, some texts on the merit of offering butter lamps say this: visualize the external material world as the lamp holder, the Mount Meru as the wick, and the 7 great oceans or the 4 great oceans as the butter oil. According to the Abhidharmakosha, there are 7 perfumed oceans surrounding Mount Meru, or, as we say now, 7 the 4 great oceans. When the whole world is illuminated by the lamp, it all becomes luminous, and the entire world of light is offered to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. On the surface, it looks like just a small lamp, but actually the merit accrued from this act is immense. So whether among the Sangha or in front of a Buddha statue, making offerings is very important. Lamp offering is very important. When I was in Lhasa, the people of Lhasa take lamp offering very seriously, especially during festivals. Everyone, young and old, goes to the monastery to make lamp offerings. Every day they bring some butter and add a little to the burning lamps in the monasteries one by one, going to every shrine hall until all the butter is offered. This is a long-standing tradition. In Tibetan Buddhism, there are some very devoted lay practitioners who would offer butter lamps in their own shrine rooms, keeping the lamps burning continuously, never letting them go out. The lamps in their room just won't go out during their whole life. Because the lamp holders they use are slightly larger than usual, they just keep changing the wick and adding oil, so the lamp never goes out, even until the end of their lives. Before they die, they even make aspirations for this, that the lamp will never go out. There are such cases. Now, in some big cities, people buy electric lamps and keep them on, just paying the electricity bill. Actually, this also brings great merit. It's a very virtuous act. Back in the time of Buddha Shakyamuni, when he was alive, there was a poor woman who saw the king making grand lamp offerings, offering countless lamps in various fine holders made of gold, silver, and so forth. She rejoiced in the king's virtue, but also felt a bit sad because she had nothing to offer. Once she finally got a little butter and offered it in front of the Buddha. When it was the afternoon, Maudgalyayana saw it and thought it was a waste to offer lamps during the day, and that it would be better to offer lamps at night when the Buddha was teaching. So he tried to put out her lamp, but couldn't, however he tried. As we know, Maudgalyayana was renowned for his miraculous powers. He tried every kind of supernatural ability to put out the flame of the lamp, but no matter what he did, he just couldn't extinguish it. So he asked the Buddha, "With all my powers, why can't I put out even a poor woman's lamp?" He seemed a bit frustrated, though, to be honest, I'm adding that part. The story doesn't say if he was actually upset. I'm not sure if an arhat can even get upset. But judging from the Buddha's response, he said, "You Shravakas could never extinguish the lamp of a Mahayana practitioner. Because of her aspiration, she lit this lamp with the wish to dispel the darkness of ignorance for all sentient beings. That's the motivation behind her offering. So, with a narrow, self-centered motivation, there's no way you could put it out." That's what the Buddha explained. The Buddha also prophesied that the poor woman would become Buddha lamplight in the future. Generally speaking, offering lamps, especially butter lamps, brings tremendous merit. As practitioners, we should never overlook these simple Buddhist practices or dismiss them as meaningless or just empty rituals, thinking, "It doesn't matter if I skip these traditions, they're just for show," is actually a very limited and immature way of thinking. There are people who simply don't understand why we do these things. They might ask, what's the point of offering lamps? Wouldn't it be better to just eat the butter or give it to the poor? And in a way, that's understandable. But in reality, not everything in this world works that way. That's why it's important to have certain rituals and forms. And it's absolutely essential to have a basic understanding of cause and effect, especially for those of us studying Mahayana and cultivating bodhicitta. Having a correct view of karma and its results is extremely important. If we don't have a solid foundation in the basic views of Buddhism about this life, future lives, and the fundamental right view, then it's simply impossible to truly practice Mahayana Dharma. So it's really important for all of us to build a strong foundation in the basics of Buddhism. If you have a solid grounding in right view and an understanding of cause and effect, or if you have a deep appreciation for the preciousness of human life, then you can start to genuinely practice altruistic bodhicitta on that basis. Because the practice of altruistic bodhicitta is truly profound. Sometimes I feel that some people don't even have the basics. So when you talk to them about giving up self-interest and working for the benefit of others, it's really hard for them to accept. Why is that? It's because their basic character or integrity hasn't yet been fully developed. And so when it comes to sacrificing everything for others to wholeheartedly benefit all beings, that's something some people just can't accept. But regardless, yeah, this is the true spirit and meaning of Buddhism. So when we teach here, we have to explain the real meaning behind these practices. That way, when we practice, we remember to accumulate merit in our daily lives. I think this is very important. In Illuminating the Path to Liberation, a commentary on the aspiration of Sukhavati, Lala Chodrup Rinpoche also said that if we don't even have 10 lamps or 10 divine delicacies to offer, and we're always just praying to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas for help, it might not actually work. So whenever we make aspirations, offer prayers, or supplicate Dharma protectors, whatever it is, as I mentioned earlier, we should at least make some kind of actual offering, even just a small amount. This is something we really shouldn't neglect, just as I said before. If you really want to make a wish or aspiration, then at least offer a lamp in front of a Buddha statue, even as a symbolic gesture. Every morning we can also make some offerings. For example, in front of a Buddha statue, you offer a stick of incense, a lamp, and make 3 prostrations. Our respect for the Buddha shouldn't just be lip service. It's not just about saying homage to the Buddha and homage to Amitabha. If we only do that, it can feel a bit empty or insubstantial. So I hope you all understand this point. 10th, the ground. On the ground anointed with perfumes, beautiful flowers are spread everywhere as an offering. This is something we can do in daily life. For example, when great masters are teaching, we can fill the whole ground or the teaching hall with fresh flowers as a way to make offerings to the masters. Or if we keep the shrine room clean and tidy, that's also a form of respect and offering to the Buddha and the master. It's also a kind of offering. So in daily life, we should offer to the Buddha in this way. We should make offerings like this as well. It is, of course, great if you can make offerings manifested by the power of the mind, but if you can't, then form the habit of making offerings wherever you go. If you see a place that's especially clean and pleasing and you think, wow, this place is really wonderful at that moment, just visualize offering it to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. This is very important. Next is the 11th offering. I offer those who are compassionate, numberless palaces adorning the sky, beautifully glowing with strings of pearls and jewels and echoing with melodious songs of praise. This means that these vast, boundless palaces and mansions are all accompanied by songs of praise to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and in these immeasurable palaces, all kinds of precious jewels are hanging, shining brilliantly. These decorations adorn the entire sky, pervading the whole of space. All these things, as immeasurable as space, are offered to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. When we talk about so-called immeasurable palaces, their colors, shapes, and decorations are truly beyond what ordinary people can imagine. They are simply unimaginable and beyond our ordinary conception. That's what we call immeasurable palaces. In everyday life, especially in big cities, we often see all kinds of skyscrapers, fancy and luxury hotels, and other impressive buildings. All of these can be visualized in your mind as offerings. Or when you see them in person, you can simply think, wow, what a beautiful house, what a magnificent palace. I offer all of this to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, to the 3 jewels. Just by thinking this way, you accumulate great merit, and it really does bring great merit. 11. Immeasurable palaces. Immeasurable palaces, adorned with every virtue, such as majesty and so forth, resound with the pleasant and melodious songs of praise sung by divas and divis, and various strings of hanging ornaments made of pearls and jewels adorn the victory banners and other things, so that the jeweled banners and so forth shine with dazzling light, filling all of space. All these ornaments that adorn the sky are also offered to the great compassionate lords. We should make such offerings in front of all the Bodhisattvas, Buddhas, and the ocean-like assembly of Dakinis and Dharma protectors, as well as all the Vajra masters of the 10 directions who have given us the Dharma, especially our benevolent root teachers. Not just when we make actual offerings, even when we make offerings while playing will bring great merit. In the Sutra of the Wise and the Foolish, if I recall clearly, there's a story like this. Once, the Buddha and Ananda went to the city for alms. While they were begging, they encountered 2 children who were playing with dirt and powder. They were making immeasurable palaces, treasure houses, wish-fulfilling jewels, and so on. They were just making toys for themselves with dirt. From a distance, they saw the Buddha and Ananda coming. When they saw them, both children developed faith. Inspired by their faith, they wanted to offer their toys and possessions to the Buddha. Some sutras say it was a palace. Others say it was a wish-fulfilling jewel that they were making. Maybe it was just a pile of dirt. They wanted to offer the dirt pile to the Buddha. But the two children were so short they couldn't reach up. So one child knelt down and the other climbed on top and offered it to the Buddha. The Buddha lowered his bowl to accept their offering. He accepted their offering of the dirt pile. After returning, the Buddha instructed that the children's offering should be used equom. It was mixed with mud and used to plaster the walls of Vihara where the Sangha lived. Because of their aspiration and good deed, the Buddha prophesied that these two children, the one who really wanted to offer the wish-fulfilling jewel, would become King Ashoka 100 years after the Buddha's parinirvana. And indeed, he became King Ashoka. The other boy became a minister of King Ashoka. After the Buddha's parinirvana, King Ashoka built 84,000 stupas enshrining the Buddha's relics. As you know, the stupas are now found all over the world. So sometimes, when we encounter a holy object, we should make offering to them, even if it's not a big offering. Even a small offering made to them with a pure mind brings great merit to us. Once, in a previous life, Shariputra encountered a Pratyeka Buddha. At that time, all he could offer was a simple needle and thread. That was the extent of his offering, just a needle and thread. But because of this small act, he was later reborn as Shariputra, who became foremost in wisdom among the Buddha's disciples. So when we encounter a sacred object worthy of offering, if we make even a tiny offering to them, it can accumulate vast merit. So whenever we visit a monastery or a shrine, we should always make offerings and make aspirations. This is very important. If you only make offerings without making aspirations, it's not enough. You must also make aspirations. When you make aspirations, as I mentioned earlier, you should think, may I become foremost in wisdom, or foremost in compassion, or may bodhicitta arise in my mind stream as soon as possible. If I don't have bodhicitta, life will feel full of suffering no matter how I live it. I may always be dissatisfied with others, thinking this person is bad, that person is bad, everyone seems bad. But once bodhicitta arises in my mind stream, whoever I see, or whatever sentient being I meet, I will see them all as bodhisattvas, all as Buddhas. At that point, practice becomes much easier for me. Otherwise, I can hardly make progress on the path. Of course, each of you probably have your own goals and thoughts. Anyway, we should all try to practice in this way. This is extremely important. Now let's talk about the 12th offering. This is the last of the 12 types of offerings manifested by the power of the mind. The verse says, I always offer to the lords of sages beauteous, jeweled parasols with golden staves, fine-shaped, upright, and pleasing to the eye, their rims festooned with winsome ornaments. This verse talks about offering parasols. There are canopies and parasols with golden handles, made of all kinds of precious jewels, with their edges adorned with beautiful decorations, and their overall appearance is extremely magnificent and splendid. We should offer such jeweled parasols with all kinds of magnificent features to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions. As you all know, the precious parasol is one of the 8 auspicious symbols. It symbolizes all auspiciousness and is a very good item of offering. There is a story for why it being an auspicious symbol. There are 2 versions of the story. Some say when Buddha Shakyamuni returned from the heaven of the 33 after teaching the Dharma to his mother, he arrived at the city of Samkashya. When the Buddha descended to this city, on his right, Brahma and his 500 attendants held jeweled parasols, and on his left, Indra and his 500 attendants held golden parasols, and they raised these parasols for Buddha Shakyamuni. This created an auspicious interdependence for the Buddha's return to the world to turn the wheel of Dharma. From then on, whenever great masters were invited to a monastery or to a Dharma center to give teachings, there would be a group of people holding parasols following the masters. That's the origin of this custom. This tradition started from that time. Whether in Tibetan Buddhism or Han Buddhism, whenever a great master is to perform a ceremony, there will be attendants holding parasols nearby. Why do they hold parasols? On one hand, the parasol is a symbol. Holding a parasol symbolizes overcoming all harm and obstacles, especially the white one. His Holiness also mentioned this before. Back then, the Han Chinese Sangha at Larung Gar made a special parasol for. Originally, the top was yellow, but when offered to him, His Holiness said it should be white. A white parasol is actually a symbol of complete victory in all times and places. It's a symbol of victory everywhere and at all times. So, among the 8 auspicious symbols, offering the parasol to the teacher or to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas brings great merit. That's why in Buddhism, whenever a great master gives teachings, parasols are always raised. That's the meaning behind the parasol. And around the parasol, there are all kinds of garlands and half garlands as decorations. Some have different decorations as well. These may vary from place to place. It's not just raised for great masters. Many Buddha statues also have a canopy above them. You could say that the canopy above a Buddha statue is also a kind of precious parasol. Please understand that the reason why there is always a parasol or canopy above a Buddha statue is not because Buddha statues need protection from the rain. It's really just a symbol, a sign of protection and auspiciousness. The commentary explains it like this. 12th, precious parasol. A beautiful golden-handled parasol, adorned with pearls and other ornaments, is raised high. Such supreme parasols, made of precious jewels and beautiful in form and pleasing to behold, are always offered to all the Tathagatas. Of course, here the precious parasol is also an auspicious symbol. Actually, in the aspiration to be reborn in the pure realm of Sukhavati, it introduces the 8 auspicious symbols, the 7 precious emblems of royalty, and so on. Whatever we can imagine in our mind, we can offer it all. In short, when it comes to the Buddha and other supreme objects of veneration, including the 3 jewels, we must first and foremost have sincere faith in them. Without genuine devotion, it's unlikely that we will truly make offerings or engage in these practices. If we lack that faith, we might think, isn't this all unnecessary? What's the point of doing these things? These kinds of thoughts and hesitations actually come from not truly understanding the essence of Buddhism. That's why, as we study the Dharma, it's so important to establish a correct view. This is absolutely essential. If we don't even have the right view, then the qualities of compassion, wisdom, and understanding, dependent origination, all these supreme qualities will never truly arise in our minds. It's just like trying to grow crops without soil. Without the earth, nothing can possibly grow. Whether you are a monastic or a layperson, having the right view is absolutely crucial. What does that mean? It means having a correct and clear understanding of the basic principles and perspectives of Buddhism. If you don't have this, it's like some people in the world who always look at the Buddha, Buddhism, or the Sangha with suspicion or a critical eye, always judging or doubting, never really opening their hearts. In that case, no matter what Buddhist practices or teachings, you can hardly develop a correct understanding. For example, if I've already decided someone is a bad person, no matter how much they try to explain or clarify, I simply won't believe them. No matter how much they try to justify themselves, I won't accept it. These days, more and more people are learning about Buddhism. You can see this everywhere, even in big cities. There are more and more Buddhist groups and communities. Whether in big cities or small towns, the number of people interested in Buddhism is growing, but those who truly have the right view are still quite few. So, above all, we must establish the right view. This is extremely important. All right, that's all for today's Bodhicharyavatara class.
Sonandai Tache Rogaya Tonani Jana Bashi Jirgana Jirano Chupai Chupun Sonen Droa Droa
Bandangara Badna Sodargye Bandangara Badna Sodargye Bandangara Badna Sodargye